So, hello. Oh yes, it's my voice. I always like this slot after the lunch because you don't disturb me with all kind of fancy questions. You just sit there and relax, and that's it. Actually, the headline is pretty nice. I tested at home, and the first question, what on earth is CCTV? Do you know? Okay, that's a surveillance camera. Very many people think that smartness in the city is just that, you know, we look at you, what you do, how you behave. And my son said, okay, now we are going to lose the last bit of privacy we have. That might be. The company I work for is old, 110 years old. It started with a electric motor, 3 kilowatts, at 1910. And we have done IT for 60 years. It's pretty fancy that we manufactured first server 8 years before Michael Dell was born. I think that's a pretty long time. So that's it. We have a long history of doing interesting solutions. And smartness is not something that you can bring outside and design a smart system. You actually create a solution, you try to find an outcome, and in the end of the day, you might find out that we did something extremely smart, but you don't know it. But if you look at all these solutions, we have, this is quite desperate, we have 980 subsidiaries. That's nearly 1,000. And I should know them all. No, I don't. But the important thing, if you think what we have done in this arena, for a good example is the train systems. Actually, we serve UK. Okay, my references are not that nice. If you think about train in UK, it's not the world's most famous punctual thing to happen. But what we do, we have a 27.5-year contract now. We are going to build 900 trains on the rails. And operators just pay per amount of passengers and how timely the trains are in place. So it has to be pretty smart, the environment, so that they can actually exceed this. Now, when we look at the urban digitalization and the smartness in cities, these are kind of normal things that we want to get. And you have heard lots of the talks about it today and yesterday already. What we mean by the digitalization, I would say that there is so many different areas that needs to get smart. The transportation, the smart retail. Actually, yesterday I tested my let's say idea. I went to the Ready first time, and I got lost. Then I thought, yes, let's take an app and look at this. No app. It's a good example that you might create a new retail place, but then you cannot actually find anything in that. So the smartness is something else than just a building or at the moisture and the warm temperature is okay. It's much more nowadays. And once we get things smarter, we get the smart city, then the smart economy, and finally a smart society. But this is a long journey. And how do we actually approach this thing? Now, normally people only remember 3 things in one presentation. But because now it's after lunch, I only urge you to remember 1 thing. What makes all these solutions smart? Any suggestions? What is the 1 thing that you need? Sensor? Some crazy idea? No. Let's just prove that you are asleep. It's data. That is a core of all these solutions. It is data. No matter what else you have, if you don't have the decent structure for it, you cannot go forward. And that means that if you really want to make smart environments, you need to start from the scratch, thinking about the city plan, a governance plan that includes the structure for data, structure for the underlying information that is needed to run smart things. I think too many haven't done this yet. That's what I expect everyone to do in the future. And that's it. We have lots of already ready-made solutions for these, let's say, issues and things that has to be done on a smart city. But it doesn't mean that in the heart of a system it's smart. That's much more. Then you need to really think broadly. And now when we look at this urban digitization, these are the goals again. This is what you want to get. A better life, more with less. This is pretty obvious. But it means that you need to have a strategy in all the levels, in the transportation, in the retail, in the healthcare. And as you see in Finland, healthcare is a good example that the strategy seems to be there, but then you need execution against the strategy too. Now, with all the strategy, you need to have data. You need to understand what you want to do. Do you know what is a gut feeling between let's say, a information that is accurate and the gut feeling? Let's take New Delhi. If you go today to New Delhi, your gut feeling is that you will die within next month if you breathe that air for a long period of time. And the data is that you know that, okay, this is dangerous for life. And you get the numbers, how much particles you have in the air. That's the difference. And now, pretty often people make the decisions with gut feeling, which is okay for a certain degree. But then if you do false decisions without analyzing the data, then you get lost. And now all these departments tend to do their own decisions with their own numbers. They don't have a holistic view, they don't look around. And now we have so many data sources that you might get mixed up with all these things. And in the end of the day, these things are disconnected. There is no big view of what we want to do. And then you might have biased information. Nowadays, the whole social media is full of biased information that just is not accurate. It's pretty awful. So who do you believe? You should create an environment where you have real data that's done in the right way, and you know what it is. And that means that you need to actually get rid of silos. You need to change your mindset, the organizations around the data that you have. And this is not a trivial change. Now, I've used half of my time. Next half, I just tell a couple of examples what you can do, because now I just told you a dilemma of eating an elephant. You all know it's so often used example that what it means. How to eat an elephant, piece by piece, and finally it's eaten. But keep it cold, otherwise it might be a struggle in the end of the process. And that's it. What we do a lot of projects, programs, where we start from the edge. We look what we have. We have a huge amount of data. Then we need to blend it. We need to analyze and create data lakes. And our examples are huge. The biggest example I know that FINRA in US, they actually analyzed 27 billion transactions a day to look if there's frauds in stock markets. So if someone buys stuff or sells stuff before the stock information, they will find it. And that's 10 times more than there's clicks in daily in Facebook. That's a lot. So we can do all kind of stuff if we want. That's actually done on Amazon. Then automation. You need an environment where you blend this data easily. And believe me, there is not a one vendor who can do this. Absolutely not. There's lots of them, and you need to be able to use all of them. So the important thing is to create APIs and understand the data storage. You have data lakes, data oceans, and long-term storage. And then you can start to create outcomes. Once you have a decent information flow, data blending from data sources, and then the big data lakes. And when you start to get results. And that's it. I'll just briefly show you a couple of examples what can be done and what have already been achieved. This is just hey, because I work for Hitachi, this is a marketing slide now. This is what we have. Video analytics, social media analytics, all kind of sensors. They have a platform to collect the data, we can blend it, and we run on whatever. Amazon, Azure, Google, private cloud. Nowadays, it's very common to actually need a private cloud. Reason being the GDPR, the legislation, and privacy itself. So we can create private clouds which looks like totally like Amazon, but it's on-prem, and you can pile nowadays about 10 petabytes in one rack, and it's cheaper than Amazon. So it's not an issue. It's just a way of doing things. What I like most of my example is Andhra Pradesh. They have a huge, huge center. It's in golden letters on the wall. Real-time governance. No, it's not real-time surveillance. It's real-time governance. What we've done, we have collected 47 department of government, the data of these departments, the prediction of weather forecasts, and all kind of sensor data, and then about 2,000 cameras. But the cameras is not the key. The key is that they actually provide this data back to the public. And the one little detail I found was pretty striking. You can look by the village what is the level of groundwater. That's so important for the farmers. And all the weather forecast and the storm forecasting. So it means that local farmers can much better predict when to go to the field, when to actually take the rice out, and so on. That's smartness. Smartness is to collect all this data, blend it, and create outcome that serves all the public. If you Google it, it's pretty fancy looking, and you can find all the details behind the Google. Then the Las Vegas. You already had it yesterday. I had a couple, let's say, slight smile when I noticed it. In Las Vegas, the motivation is simple. They want to serve you so well that you don't leave a city. You use all your money. And there's our Pentaho, our data blending inside this their project where they want to create a very fluent environment for people to move and play and wander around. Curtin University, they have 20,000 to 30,000 students. So now there's lots of cameras everywhere, and what they analyze, they know who is in the exams, they know which student is in which lecture, and they know if there's outsiders. So it's pretty easy to actually see if someone wants to attack the place. And now, finally, they have added one pretty amazing thing. They want to make a pedagogy analysis. They want to see if the teaching goes through. Okay, we didn't take this video now. I mean, the recording, it would be pretty disappointing for me, just seeing that, okay, everyone is sleeping after lunch anyway. But that's the analysis that you get. That's a total new thinking. You make new things out of an old solutions. And this is how this looks like. This is pretty normal nowadays. You have a camera, and it's so smart that it doesn't send any video out before something happens. Now it starts to send. So you save lots of bandwidth. You do it in a nice way. The other example, if someone leaves a package in stations or in airport, you get an alarm. That's how it works. Vehicle counting, typical thing for a smart city. You need to know where are the parking slots, how many cars is passing by in its slots. Nothing is so simple. In the mall, we can analyze who is visiting in which place, which are the best slots for something to sell. The Australia have a sensors in every pole, just that they know what is broken. And of course, we do have a smart pole. Everyone seems to have a smart pole nowadays. So that's in Copenhagen. And that's it. We can deliver all kind of operational intelligence nearly, I would say, as a self-packaged, easy solution. And there's privacy too, just to tell my son that yes, we digitalize your face so we won't recognize you. And that's it. I was 2 seconds over time. So I take care that you won't make any questions. Thank you. I'll be at the stand. I can do this in Finnish, meaning that I don't change 20% of the words. So thank you.